The silence at Arlington National Cemetery was absolute, broken only by the measured footsteps of Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez as she executed her 21st step along the mat. 21 steps south, face the tomb, wait 21 seconds, face east for 21 seconds, then 21 steps north. The rhythm had become as natural as breathing during her 2 years as a tomb guard, but today something felt different. The weight of her M14 rifle seemed heavier, and the crisp October air carried an unusual tension that made her hyper-aware of every sound, every shadow, every movement in her peripheral vision. Elena had earned her place among the elite tomb guards through dedication that bordered on obsession. The Old Guard, the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, accepted only the best, and even among them, the tomb guards were legendary. Perfect posture, flawless uniform, unwavering discipline. The unknown soldiers beneath the white marble sarcophagus deserved nothing less than perfection, and Elena delivered it with the precision of a Swiss timepiece. Her personal life had always taken second place to her military career, but she thought she had found balance when she married Marcus 3 years ago. He was a civilian contractor who worked with the Pentagon, understanding enough about military life to respect her commitment while providing the stability she craved during her off-duty hours. Her best friend Sarah had introduced them, actually, at a barbecue celebrating Elena's promotion to staff sergeant. Sarah worked as a nurse at Walter Reed and had been Elena's closest friend since basic training 8 years ago. They had supported each other through deployments, breakups, family crises, and career challenges. When Elena married Marcus, Sarah served as her maid of honor, and when Marcus got his promotion last year, the three of them celebrated together like family. The vibration of her phone against her chest broke Elena's concentration for just a fraction of a second. Personal phones were strictly forbidden during tomb duty, but Elena had received special permission to keep hers on vibrate due to her father's recent cancer diagnosis. The doctors had warned that his condition could deteriorate rapidly, and Elena needed to be reachable for family emergencies. She ignored the vibration, maintaining her perfect pace and posture, but when it buzzed again 30 seconds later, concern for her father crept into her mind. 21 steps south, face the tomb, wait. The phone buzzed a third time. Emergency calls typically came in patterns like this. Her father might be dying while she stood guard over other fallen soldiers, and the irony wasn't lost on her. She completed her sequence, turned north, and began her measured steps. The phone buzzed again. 4 calls in 2 minutes meant crisis, but Elena would not break protocol. The unknown soldiers came first, always. Her personal emergencies would have to wait until her relief arrived in 43 minutes. But the buzzing continued. 5 calls, 6, 7. Elena's military training kicked in, analyzing the situation with cold logic. Medical emergencies typically generated 1 or 2 urgent calls, then family members would call the hospital directly. This pattern suggested something else entirely. Her mind began cataloging possibilities while her body maintained perfect military bearing. 8 calls. 9. 10. Whatever was happening, someone desperately needed to reach her, and that someone had her personal number. The relief guard arrived early, Sergeant First Class Martinez stepping into view with parade ground precision. Elena completed her current sequence, executed a flawless relief ceremony, and walked with measured steps to the guard quarters. Only when she was completely out of public view did she retrieve her phone, noting 17 missed calls from an unknown number and 3 voicemails. The unknown number had a local area code, but Elena didn't recognize it. She pressed play on the first voicemail, expecting to hear a hospital administrator or perhaps a neighbor calling about her father. Instead, she heard giggling. Female giggling followed by a male voice she recognized immediately. Marcus, her husband. Speaking in the intimate tone he used only in their bedroom, but he wasn't talking to her. Elena's blood turned to ice as she heard her husband's voice mixing with another woman's laughter, their conversation clearly audible through what sounded like an accidental pocket dial. The woman's voice became clearer, and Elena's heart stopped. Sarah. Her best friend Sarah, laughing and flirting with Elena's husband, while Elena stood guard over the nation's honored dead. Elena's military training took over, suppressing the emotional response and focusing on gathering intelligence. She played the second voicemail. More conversation, clearer this time. Marcus was describing what he wanted to do to Sarah, using language that made Elena's stomach turn, not because of its explicitness, but because those were words he had spoken to her just 3 days ago. Sarah's responses were equally intimate, equally familiar. They were in Elena's house, she realized. Her house, her bed, using words and phrases that belonged to her marriage. The third voicemail was the worst. The accidental call had captured nearly 10 minutes of their encounter, and Elena heard everything. Every moan, every whispered endearment, every sound of their betrayal echoing through her phone speaker. But worse than the physical betrayal was the conversation afterward. Sarah talking about how stupid Elena was, how she was always gone, always putting the military first. Marcus agreeing, saying he deserved better than a wife who loved dead soldiers more than her living husband. They laughed about Elena's dedication, mocked her discipline, and planned their next encounter for the following week when Elena would be pulling another tomb duty shift. Elena set the phone down with the same precision she used for every military movement and stared at the wall of the guard quarters. Around her, the sacred quiet of Arlington Cemetery continued unchanged. The unknown soldiers still lay in their eternal rest, still deserved her protection and respect, still commanded her absolute dedication. But Elena's world had just collapsed, and she needed to process this information with the same tactical precision she brought to everything else in her life. She walked to the window overlooking the tomb, where her replacement continued the eternal vigil. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the white marble, and tourists maintained their respectful distance behind the barriers. Elena had given everything to this duty, to her country, to her marriage, and to her friendship with Sarah. She had prioritized honor, service, and loyalty above personal comfort or convenience. She had missed birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays to serve. She had turned down promotions that would have taken her away from tomb duty because she believed this assignment was sacred. And while she maintained that sacred trust, her husband and best friend had betrayed theirs. Elena's phone buzzed with a text message from Marcus. "Working late tonight. Don't wait up." The timestamp showed he had sent it 30 minutes ago while Elena was listening to him in bed with Sarah. A second text arrived from Sarah. "Miss you, girl. Hope tomb duty isn't too boring today." The casual cruelty of that message, sent while Sarah was still in Elena's bed with Elena's husband, crystallized something cold and hard in Elena's chest. She thought about confronting them immediately, driving home and catching them in the act, screaming and throwing things like she had seen in movies. But Elena wasn't built for emotional outbursts. She was built for planning, for patience, for precision. If Marcus and Sarah wanted to play games with her life, they would discover that Elena Vasquez had been trained by the United States Army to win wars, and she approached every challenge with the methodical thoroughness of a professional soldier. Elena spent the remainder of her shift planning. Not emotional planning, but tactical planning. She analyzed her situation with the same systematic approach she used for military operations. Marcus worked as a cybersecurity contractor with top-secret clearance. Sarah had access to medical records and controlled substances at Walter Reed. Elena had her own resources through the military, plus the respect and connections that came with being a tomb guard. She also had something her enemies didn't expect: time and patience. Over the following weeks, Elena maintained perfect normalcy. She came home from shifts and kissed Marcus hello. She met Sarah for their weekly coffee dates and listened to her complain about work and dating. She performed her tomb duties with the same flawless precision that had earned her commendations. To outside observers, Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez was the same dedicated soldier and faithful wife she had always been. But beneath that perfect exterior, Elena was conducting reconnaissance on her own life. She discovered that Marcus and Sarah had been meeting regularly for 3 months, always when Elena was on duty. They used her house when she worked day shifts, Sarah's apartment when Elena worked nights. Marcus had been telling his supervisors that Elena was having emotional problems adjusting to military life, laying groundwork for a divorce that would paint him as the supportive husband of an unstable soldier. Sarah had been sharing details about Elena's therapy sessions following her deployment to Afghanistan, information she had access to through her connections at Walter Reed. They were building a case against Elena's character while conducting their affair, planning to destroy her reputation along with her marriage. Elena documented everything. She used techniques learned in intelligence training to gather evidence without alerting her targets. She copied Marcus's phone records, photographed Sarah's text messages during their coffee dates, and recorded conversations where they discussed Elena's supposed mental health issues. She was methodical, patient, and absolutely thorough. When she finally acted, she would have overwhelming evidence, but more importantly, she would have the perfect plan. The plan came together on a snowy December morning while Elena stood guard over the tomb. The weather was brutal, with wind cutting through her uniform and snow accumulating on her shoulders, but Elena felt energized. She had spent 2 months gathering intelligence, and now she was ready for the operation phase. Marcus's security clearance renewal was coming up in January, requiring extensive background checks and interviews with associates. Sarah was up for a promotion to head nurse, a position requiring spotless character references and administrative review. Both of them had vulnerabilities, and Elena intended to exploit every single one. Phase 1 began during the holidays. Elena volunteered for every tomb duty shift available, telling Marcus and Sarah that she needed the overtime pay for Christmas presents. This gave them more opportunities to meet, more chances to become careless, and more evidence for Elena to collect. She installed security cameras in her own house, hidden in smoke detectors and picture frames, capturing high-definition video of her husband's infidelity. She used her military connections to access Marcus's government computer usage logs, discovering that he had been accessing classified information from her house and sharing it with unauthorized personnel, including Sarah. Elena's father, whose cancer had been her cover for carrying the phone during tomb duty, was actually recovering well. But Elena told Marcus and Sarah that his condition was worsening, requiring frequent trips to the hospital during her off-duty time. These fictional hospital visits gave her cover for meeting with divorce attorneys, private investigators, and a friend from intelligence school who now worked in cybersecurity enforcement. Elena was building a network of professional allies, while Marcus and Sarah built their nest of lies. Phase 2 launched in January with surgical precision. Elena's friend in cybersecurity enforcement received an anonymous tip about a defense contractor accessing classified materials from an unsecured location. The subsequent investigation revealed that Marcus had been working from Elena's house using his government laptop, a violation of security protocols. Worse, the investigation uncovered evidence that he had been sharing sensitive information with Sarah, who had no security clearance whatsoever. The security videos Elena had installed provided crystal clear evidence of these violations occurring in her bedroom while she was on duty. Simultaneously, Elena's divorce attorney filed papers citing adultery and security violations, accompanied by a mountain of photographic, video, and digital evidence. The filing was timed to coincide with Marcus's security clearance review, ensuring that his infidelity and security breaches would be fresh in investigators' minds. Elena had documented everything with military precision: dates, times, locations, and corroborating evidence for every instance of betrayal. Sarah's destruction required more finesse. Elena couldn't directly access Walter Reed's personnel files, but she didn't need to. During their coffee dates, Elena had been recording Sarah's violations of patient confidentiality, her admissions of taking controlled substances from the hospital pharmacy for personal use, and her detailed descriptions of falsifying medical records to cover for colleagues. Elena had years of such conversations, all recorded with Sarah's unknowing consent in the single-party consent jurisdiction of Virginia. The recordings went to Walter Reed's Internal Affairs Department, along with evidence of Sarah's relationship with Marcus and her access to Elena's confidential medical records. Sarah had been using her position to gather information about Elena's mental health treatment following her deployment, then sharing that information with Marcus to support their narrative of Elena being unstable. The violation of medical privacy laws was a federal crime, and the evidence Elena provided was overwhelming and undeniable. Phase 3 was Elena's masterpiece. She leaked the story to a military affairs journalist who had been looking for examples of security breaches in the defense contractor system. Marcus's case became a cautionary tale about the dangers of mixing personal relationships with classified work, complete with security camera footage that made him look like both a fool and a traitor. The story ran in the Washington Post with the headline, "Defense Contractor's Affair Compromises National Security," accompanied by pixelated but recognizable photos of Marcus and Sarah in Elena's bedroom. Elena maintained her perfect tomb guard duties throughout the entire operation. She never missed a step, never broke protocol, never let personal drama interfere with her military responsibilities. When reporters tried to interview her about her husband's security breaches, she referred them to her attorney and continued her vigil over the unknown soldiers. When Marcus was arrested for security violations, Elena was standing guard at Arlington, maintaining the same perfect posture and discipline that had defined her military career. The results exceeded Elena's expectations. Marcus lost his security clearance, his job, and faced federal charges for mishandling classified information. The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal, with Elena receiving everything due to Marcus's adultery and criminal activity. Sarah was fired from Walter Reed, lost her nursing license, and faced her own federal charges for accessing confidential medical records. Both Marcus and Sarah tried to contact Elena, begging for mercy, claiming they had been foolish and asking for forgiveness. Elena's response was delivered through her attorney with the same precision she brought to military correspondence. She would not be granting interviews, accepting apologies, or showing mercy. They had betrayed her trust while she served her country, mocked her dedication while she honored the fallen, and planned her destruction while she protected their freedom. Justice, like tomb guard duty, required unwavering commitment to principle over personal comfort. The final phase came 6 months later when Elena received orders for a new assignment. She had been selected for officer candidate school, a career advancement that would eventually lead to command positions. Her reputation had emerged from the scandal unblemished, even enhanced. Military leadership respected her composure under personal attack, her dedication to duty despite personal crisis, and her methodical approach to solving problems. She was exactly the kind of soldier the Army wanted to promote and develop. On her final day as a tomb guard, Elena stood her last watch with the same perfection she had brought to hundreds of previous shifts. 21 steps south, face the tomb, wait 21 seconds. The unknown soldiers beneath the marble had been her constant companions through the worst period of her life, and she had never failed them. Not when her marriage was crumbling, not when her best friend was betraying her, not when her world was falling apart around her. The dead deserved better than the living, and Elena had proven worthy of their trust. As she completed her final sequence and prepared for the relief ceremony, Elena reflected on the past year with satisfaction. Marcus was serving 18 months in federal prison for security violations. Sarah was working as a home health aide under supervised probation, her nursing career permanently ended. Elena was beginning a new chapter of her military career with her integrity intact and her future bright. She had learned that betrayal was simply another enemy to be defeated through superior planning, patience, and precision. The relief ceremony concluded with Elena's trademark perfection. She walked away from the tomb with measured steps, her duty complete, her mission accomplished, her honor preserved. Behind her, the new guard began his own vigil, maintaining the eternal watch over America's unknown heroes. The rhythm continued, unchanging and sacred, just as Elena's commitment to justice had remained unchanging through every challenge. Some people served their country in combat, others in diplomacy or intelligence. Elena Vasquez had served by proving that honor, patience, and military precision could defeat any enemy, including those who pretended to be friends. The unknown soldiers could rest easy, knowing that their guard had been faithful to the end, and that justice, like duty, never sleeps.